from the SCU. On Wednesday, 4 p.m., Erica Lukes in the Skinwalker Ranch Review. On Friday, 1 p.m., special surprise guest. Tuesday, on the Singularity Lab, 4 p.m., Jeremy McGowan, Drones versus UFOs. Thursday, 4 p.m., we'll see you next week. No show. On Friday, 5 p.m., Paradigm Shifts with Christina Gomez. Come aboard, let's get weird on the Unidentified Celebrity Review. What is up, you guys? Welcome to the show. Michael's getting ready backstage. I feel like I messed that up. That should have been the button I pressed right before the show started. But I think I pressed it too early. Anyway, we got the intro in there. So welcome to the Singularity Lab. I see we got a whole bunch of people waiting in the show. So we've got NP is in the house, Ethereal Aura. What is up, you guys? It's nice to see you here at the Singularity Lab. So stoked you're here. John Hears is here as well. And we've got Anonymous Rex and Jeremy McGowan is in the house. By the way, he's going to be here. We'll be talking about drones versus UFOs. It's going to be a very interesting discussion. McGowan's also got some news to drop on the channel. We don't know what it is, but if I know McGowan, it'll be fun. So what else? We've got Aaron Disario as well coming on the show. I'm not sure what Aaron is going to be talking about. You know, he's a science and technology enthusiast, so I'm assuming he's going to be having a fun discussion here with us. He's talking about software and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, let's see. Who else do we have? Michael's laughing in the back. I guess he's almost ready to go because I am just absolutely nailing this open. So FPMR, no one from the Black Vault. What are we talking about here? Rather be squidding in the house. What's up, Rather? What's going on, buddy? Derek Daughtry, Angel Street. Hello, my lady. Lori W. Welcome to the Singularity Lab. Sade. What's good? What is good? Moose 1911. Glad you're here. Chris Spaghetti in the house. I think Chris Spaghetti's going to be on the show later in the month, so that's going to be fun. So stay tuned for that. And then we've got Belleville Piet. Thank you, my man, my dude, I believe who's in South Africa. That's where the Czar are, right? Czar are from South Africa, so welcome back. Explorer Lab, all the way from France. Bill Clinton, yep. Bill Clinton talked about UFOs today. I don't know if we're going to get into that. Maybe we will. I don't know. We'll see. It's Mikey's show. But speaking of, it's 4 o'clock. It's time to start the Singularity Lab. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play this again. We're going to do this right. Here we go. Yeah, Singularity Lab with Michael Mataluni, Kristen Mataluni, Tron, the Singularity, Neon, to live stream. Welcome to Michael's Matrix. Do you see the code? I hope you see the code, because we all see the code. Singularity's coming. Are you ready? If you're not, too bad. Because this is what our cities and towns are going to look like when the Singularity Lab comes. And now, without further ado, Mr. Michael Mataluni and Kristen Mataluni.
I was like, that is the best intro I've ever seen in my entire life.
All you were missing were the like robot voices from like Mystery Science Theater.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's all we needed. Yeah, Crow and God, I can't remember the other robot's name.
I can't remember. It's been a minute.
Oh yeah, but what a great show! What a great show! Speaking of great shows, we've got an amazing show today. I'm super excited. I was really thrilled. Like I thought I've created the best thumbnail of my career today. So for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, it was a good one. It was a good one. For those of you just joining us for the first time, this is the Singularity Lab, the show where we chop up the breaking technology, breaking science, and we discuss the things that are evolving the humanity forward. And we want to figure out how we do it without destroying ourselves. So I think it's a good topic, a good show. And today, specifically, we've got the one and only Jeremy McGowan here, who's a contributing member of the Scientific Coalition for Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Studies and an expert in drone technology. He's a trained observer, investigator, and veteran of the United States Air Force.
Hoorah.
Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jeremy.
Kristen.
It's Tom Servo in Crow.
Yes.
That's what it was.
It was what? Tom Servo.
Tom Servo.
Yeah, from Mystery Science Theater 3000. Yeah.
Oh, yes. See, all we have to do is just let our amazing chat do the work for us. They know.
Exactly.
We should totally have a riff tracks of this.
A riff tracks of the show.
Of the show.
Yeah. I have flooded my girlfriend's Amazon account with riff track films. So she's like, "What are you watching?" I like to fall asleep to them. It's like the last thing I'll watch during the night. And it'll be terrible movies with terrible jokes made over them. Just love it.
It's the only way to watch them.
Yeah.
100%. So,
also,
Jeremy McGowan. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
I'm not an expert. Don't look at me as an expert. I have a little bit of knowledge, man. That's all I got.
On Mystery Science Theater 3000?
No, on drones. There are so many people out there that know so many more things than I do. I just had the benefit of being in the defense industry, working with and for drone aircraft, but I would not look at myself as an expert.
In a relativistic sense, compared to Luis, Kristen, and I'm going to go ahead and call you an expert today.
Yeah.
Okay,
definitely.
we'll work with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jeremy, first of all, I appreciate you coming on board and getting weird with us, and I appreciate you bringing your knowledge on this topic. So, just so those of you who are watching know, Jeremy reached out to me a few weeks ago, and he was asked to compile a document. He's building a project about what are significant UAP sighting phenomenons. What do they look like? And when people are mistaken, what does that look like? And I think that's such an important topic because as we start to see this topic grow into the mainstream media and have people looking up into the skies more and more, it's that much more critical that we know what the hell we're looking at. So, Jeremy, let me start by asking you this. Can you kind of tell me, actually, why don't we go back just a little bit? So let's talk about your time in the Air Force.
Sure.
And I want to talk about what actually caused you to really look into this topic. I know you were profiled on Unidentified with Luis Elizondo, and you had an experience of your own. Could you kind of share what that experience was? And then we'll kind of kick into what you know about drones as well as UAP sightings.
Yeah, for sure. And before I say that, because I am a witness to something that, as far as I know, has no explanation based on the laws of physics and aerodynamics, I truly believe that there are UAP out there. I fully believe that I have seen one. I also believe that probably 95% of the things that people are reporting as UAP are not. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because I want to help people cut through the noise and not be distracted by mundane and prosaic crap when they should be looking in a completely different direction or looking a little bit harder at something else that is definitively not explainable. So.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that, because I think that is so critical. Again, just seeing what, we're going to have a lot of people looking for this phenomenon, and we need to
Yeah.
know what exactly we're looking for. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
So the experience that I had in a nutshell, and I've talked about this quite a bit, but there are a lot of people in this chat. This is amazing, and I don't know a lot of them, so I'm assuming they don't know a lot about me. But back in 1995, when I was in the Air Force, I was stationed in Jordan, in the country of Jordan, on at the time it was a classified mission, and a very long story, very short. I ended up guarding what was later to be found out as a recovered Russian nuclear warhead that had been retrieved post fall of the Soviet Union. This was 4 years after the Soviet Empire had collapsed, and their nukes were everywhere. And we got one, and we were bringing it home basically. And this thing was sitting out in the middle of the Jordanian desert in a very large crate. And it was myself and one other individual that was tasked with guarding this crate. And in the middle of the night, one night while guarding the crate, I was using my night vision goggles and lying on my back and staring out at the stars. And I saw something that flew like nothing else. It would traverse from horizon to horizon in under 2 seconds at, we're talking space altitudes, and had a 90-degree turn right at the apex. So it would come from my 6 o'clock, go to my top dead center, make a 90-degree turn, and shoot off to my 9 o'clock. And with that turn, there was no apex, no radius to the turn. There was no depreciation in speed. It did not obey the theories of aerodynamics with lift, drag, thrust, and things like that. So that's what got me into this.
Wow. And so did you relate it at any point when you were experiencing that? Did you relate it to the nuclear waste that you were trying to, I mean, what was that like?
Not at the very instant that it was happening, because I was still processing the fact that this thing was able to go from horizon to horizon in, under 2 seconds. It was probably within, I got to be careful in how I say this, because I don't want to confuse people that have heard the stories before, but it was a while before I could confirm what was in the crate. I always had suspicions about what was in the crate. So
Okay.
I always thought, because we weren't told, we weren't briefed as to what was in that crate. And it wasn't until much, much later, like 20 years later, that I was able to actually verify that this was an SS-24. With 8 of the 10 active warheads still on this thing. So when the event occurred, I was under the assumption that there was some type of radiological material in there. I had no idea that it was a live and stripped down Russian nuclear ballistic tipped device.
Wow, this thing was live, you think, or from what you understand?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, this was a warhead. This was the nose cone off of an SS-24 nuclear missile. That inside that nose cone, it had the capacity of holding 10 warheads, and 8 of the 10 warheads were inside of this nose cone.
Right.
And I wasn't able to confirm that until about 23 years later.
McGowan, I don't remember if I asked you this, but how did the crate get there?
I don't know. I wasn't part of that. And I don't want to speculate on how or why, because that wasn't part of my mission. I have no knowledge of that. All I know is that from piecing things together, I know that we recovered from somebody or a group of somebodies this device, or these devices inside this nose cone. It's my understanding that had this not been recovered, this would have been right into Iran.
Wow. Were you alone at that time?
No, there was one other person with me, but I have no idea who that was. It's we're talking 24, 25 years ago, and they weren't from my team, so I have no idea who I was with at the time.
Got it.
I've done a very detailed explanation on the whole sighting on many other podcasts, and I don't want to take away from any of that. But in the story is obviously on season 2, episode 3 of Unidentified, and there's a lot of background to it, a lot of background. But I think I do now think that the presence of the UAP is directly relatable to the fact that this crate carried an unshielded nuclear weapon inside of it that was probably glowing hot with radiation.
Insane. All right, so kind of break this down for us. Let's talk about what you're researching now when it comes to
Yeah.
drone technology, and I'd really love to explore kind of some of these acronyms because when people say UAV, are they talking about drones?
Yes, primarily, but they're not. So UAV is unmanned aerial vehicles, and it's not necessarily specific to the shape. So a UAV could be anything from a cruise missile to a helicopter that is pilotless to an aircraft, an airplane that was retrofitted to become pilotless to a vehicle that was designed to be pilotless. So it's an unmanned aerial vehicle is UAV.
Okay, got it. So it's
It's a
basically
catch-all.
it's a catch-all for anything that's
Yeah.
particularly unmanned. Okay, so
Correct.
that's okay. That's good to understand. All right, so can you kind of explain if like how the 5 observables relate to this conversation?
I am really glad you asked that question because this is basically the news that that Luis was teasing there. Not necessarily a bombshell, but in my opinion, the 5 observables are bullshit, and there's
Oh,
only two that make a difference.
okay.
Um, so the 5 observables have been defined by Luis Elizondo many times, but only two of these cannot be attributed to domestic aircraft. The other three are 100% attributable to conventional domestic aircraft, and I do not understand why they were ever isolated and sectioned off to being only capable by UAP, because this really muddied the waters. And I don't want to attribute any motives to this, but it does lead people to believe that we don't have the technology that can do 3/5 of what is being attributed to UAP.
Okay, so the
Maybe.
5 observables are anti-gravity lift,
Mm-hmm,
sudden and instantaneous acceleration,
mm-hmm,
hypersonic velocities,
mm-hmm,
low observability or cloaking,
mm-hmm.
and transmedium travel. So
Yes.
which of those should not
Ooh,
be?
could we guess?
Oh yes,
Please,
let's
please,
guess.
let's use critical thinking. Let's
Okay.
work with me on this,
Ooh,
and
can
you
we
guys
guess?
tell me which ones, because nobody has challenged this. Nobody has looked at the 5 observables and said, there should only be two because the rest of them are crap.
Well, it's kind of like George Carlin's 10 Commandments. He's like, there should really only be, I think he said 2 or 3.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it pretty much covers all the other
don't
10.
be a shitty human being.
Yeah, essentially. Okay, I'm gonna
So-
say, well, transmedium vehicles we have, right? Because we
Right.
have missiles that can go through air or through the water into the
Yep.
air into space and back again.
Yes.
I would say low observability and cloaking.
Okay. So we don't have anti-gravity that I know of.
Right.
And we don't
we
have-
Didn't finish. We didn't
Oh,
finish.
sorry.
We're
Well,
still guessing. We're
Okay.
still guessing.
my bad. My
Yeah,
bad. Go
damn.
on. Go
damn.
on.
No, well, you already
Please.
ruined it, McGowan. Damn it.
Well, if you think about it, this look,
Anti-gravity for sure. We don't
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, we
and we
As
don't
far as
have
we
the
know.
sudden and instantaneous acceleration, I would
and
say.
and this is a term that's also poorly described because we do have instantaneous acceleration. What we don't have is instantaneous high velocity, because you can go from nothing to moving
Right.
instantly, right? We
Right.
all do that. We stand up and get up and walk. We've gone from 0 to, a mile and a half an hour instantly. What we don't have is something that goes from 0 to 3,000 miles an hour without any increase in velocity between those 2 points. So even the term itself, instantaneous acceleration, is crap. It should be instantaneous velocity or instantaneously achieved velocities. So
Okay.
we don't have those two. We don't have anti-gravity. We don't have instantaneous acceleration. But if you look at, let's start with looking at the things that we do have. So hypersonic velocity, and Lou defined that as the ability to reach speeds over 3,700 miles per hour.
Okay.
The Aerojet General X8, it flew Mach 6 in 1949. Now it was unmanned. We didn't have a crew in it, but it hit Mach 6, 4,603 miles an hour in 1949. Then the X-15, and I don't know if your viewers are familiar with what an X-15 looks like, but in October of 1967, the North American X-15 flew at 4,520 miles an hour with a pilot.
Is that the image you sent me earlier?
It is.
Let me see if I can share that. Keep going. I'll see if I can share that.
I got it.
Right.
I found it.
You got
So
Yep.
then in 1957, the X-17 flew at 9,000 miles per hour.
Holy shit.
And in the 5 observables, they're saying that hypersonic velocity is the ability to reach speeds at over 3,700 miles an hour. 1957, we were flying at 9,000 miles per hour. This is one of the reasons that I'm saying that the 5 observables are crap. I can't say that word for some reason. Now, keep going with this.
This is the X or the
X-15,
X-15 here. Okay,
Yep,
and that's
Mach 0.72. It just said on the screen.
so. Where did Elizondo come up with this 3,700 miles an hour cutoff? I don't understand.
Well,
Did he just
hypersonic
not
velocity is 3,700 miles per hour. That's what the definition of hypersonic velocity is. That's not in question. The in question part is, why is that one of these 5
Right.
observables when we have had this tech since 1949? That
Right.
drives me nuts. You look at NASA's X-43,
Okay,
the Boeing X-51.
but he is saying, so let me push back on this a little bit, because he did
Okay.
say that it is hypersonic velocities without signatures, and then a signature is a vapor trail or a sonic boom. So it's the ability to travel at 3,700 miles per hour without a sonic
Quietly.
boom. Yeah, quietly
Mhm.
and without any sort of
You do that at
vapor
altitude.
signature.
You do that at altitude.
What do you mean?
You're not going to have a sonic boom if you don't have enough air pressure around you to do it. So if you're at, like 80, 90,000 feet and you reach hypersonic velocities at that point, if you do have a sonic boom, it's going to be significantly reduced. Higher, less, because it's
Right.
dependent on the air pressure. It's dependent on the ability for sound to travel through the medium of air. So now if you're doing that, 9,000 miles an hour at sea level, oh, hell yeah, you're going to have a sonic boom. Absolutely.
Right. So
But if
would
we're-
it be fair to say, if we're talking about the 5 observables and we're talking about seeing them from the ground or in atmosphere, that it would be hypersonic velocities without a signature would indicate a UFO or a UAP?
It would indicate a UFO or UAP up until recent times, and I mean within the last 10 years.
Got it. So you're
Prior
saying
to
that
the tech did not exist. Now we have. I mean, we're working on submarines that have the ability to hit multiple hundreds of miles per hour underwater, because they basically eject a bubble of air around them and then use rocket propulsion to travel within that bubble of air. So, and this is relatively recent developments, but I mean, you're looking at things like even China, the DFZF, Russia, the Vanguard, India even has hypersonic vehicles now. So these speeds are easily achievable. Now, if we're talking 50, 60, 80,000 miles an hour, then no, we're not there yet. But we are certainly capable of hypersonic velocities.
right, but not without signatures in low atmosphere under 10,000
Not without
feet,
signatures
let's
in
say.
low atmosphere, correct.
Right.
Without
So
signatures in higher altitudes, absolutely.
Right. So we can I think we can keep hypersonic velocities without signatures as long as it's within 10,000 feet. I think we can keep that as an observable, no?
Yeah, within 10,000 feet, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Then
we have
we go-
3 or 2?
Okay,
I think we have
2.5. Let's go with 2.5.
So we've
All right,
got the
McGowan,
2.5
2.5.
observables.
All right, 2.5 observables. That sounds
All
very, very marketable. Go on.
All right. The low observability or stealth. Come on. We've had stealth technology forever. I mean, the F-117.
cloaking technology, I feel like also is probably has already been tested on some level.
Oh, yeah, absolutely it has. I mean, hell, there's there's videos out there of active camouflage that are, it's rudimentary, but we have camouflage netting that uses microelectric types of video cameras to project an image that it records on one side to the other side. So we've got visual cloaking, but the low observability aspects are basically the ability to look at reducing both visual and radar signatures, monostatic and God, I can't even think of the other type of radar at this moment, but things like the F-117, the B-2, the F-35, these are all stealth aircraft. Russia has the Sukhoi Pak-FA. China has, God, I think it's the J-20 and the F-31 from China. These are all stealth technology aircraft, and they're designed not only to reduce the visual signature because the thinness and the shape of the aircraft, and in different aspects when the aircraft is flying, which is also a part of stealth. Because if you look up and you do some deep diving in stealth technology, it's not just about the airframe or the structure or the coatings or anything like that. It's how you use the technology. So when they're doing a mission planning that is using a stealth aircraft, say like the F-117, which is one of our older ones that's not even that good anymore, you would not open up the bomb doors until the absolute last second, because you're going to increase your radar signature by like 30% just by opening up the bomb doors. You're going to be using satellite imagery and satellite geo-intelligence to be able to plot the location of suspected radar sites from the enemy. And you're going to plan your approach so that the cross-section of your aircraft, which gives off the smallest radar reflective signature, is pointing at these instead of just, flying right past it and bringing up a very larger or a larger radar signature. So stealth technology is also in mission planning, not just in the technology itself. But we've had this for.
But would you say that Elizondo wasn't referring to stealth technology or the ability to avoid radar tracking? He was more talking about the ability to observe as a witness?
No, as a matter of fact, if you go onto the Unidentified show, where it's defined, and it's on the clip from the History Channel, it says, low observability, the ability to avoid, I think, all types of radar.
Yeah, I think here it says, even when objects are observed, getting a clear and detailed view of them, either through the pilot sighting, radar, or other means, remains difficult. Witnesses generally only see the glow or haze around them, which is also kind of strange because we're also seeing radar and other tech signatures from UAPs now, or at least that's what's being reported.
Yes.
By folks coming out of this conversation in the
also,
USG.
There's something that nobody's keying in on. How can we record something that's stealth? If it works, you're not going to get a visual signature on it.
Which is interesting because it's like, why are we looking? So when we get some radar data and sensor data on some of these things, I'm almost wondering why we think they're UAPs if we're getting this data. Why are they cloaking themselves?
That if it is a true stealth craft, we have our own domestic technology that allows us to fly behind enemy lines, and we appear on enemy radar as maybe a flock of birds instead of two jets flying in with 50,000 pounds of weaponized payload. If UAP are out there and they are with one of these 5 observables being stealth, I would think that their tech is a little bit better than ours, and our Spy 1 or Aegis radar isn't going to show them.
Deermeister says they want to be seen, different types of crafts. That's an interesting point, but that's the opposite of what Elizondo is saying with the 5 observables.
Yes, you literally cannot observe something that's invisible. So if it has the low observabilities, you're not going to have it as a statistic in your count because you didn't see it.
Yeah, I feel like we got to throw that one away. I think you're right, Jeremy. I think we got to throw that one. We got to take that one out to the trash.
NoStream also said, when we talk about the 5 observables, quote, they are talking all at once. Bullets have been traveling at hypersonic velocities for hundreds of years, undetectable by radar. No one says bullets are aliens.
Well, bullets are detectable by radar because I reload my own ammunition right over here, and I have a chronograph that uses photographic devices to time my bullets for my hand loads and things like that. So, and there are radar-based chronographs out there now, so we can definitely find bullets by radar. But I see what he's saying, but there hasn't been a single video that has been put out by the United States government that shows all 5 observables at once.
Right.
As a matter of fact,
but they're still considered UAPs according to the government.
Right. Absolutely. And
even though they don't show all the 5 observables. Got it.
Right. And the last one was transmedium travel. Now, in the document that I've been writing, I spent an inordinate amount of time on the transmedium aspect of this, because this seems to be the one that people get hung up on the most. They're like, holy crap, it was flying, then it went into the water. Excuse me. It's got to be UAP. Or, holy crap, it came out of the water and it started flying. It's got to be UAP. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. We've had this tech for decades. Decades. I mean, look, I understand that this is not what people are looking at or thinking about, but in 1955, we launched, actually we didn't, the Russians, we launched the first transmedium craft from a submarine in 1955. I mean, it launched from a submarine, came out of the water, flew, went into space, came back down. 1955, right?
But do we have transmedium vehicles that can hold a human being?
I don't know. I would probably say that we do, that go from sea to air, probably not sea to air to space to land, but sea to air and then back to sea. I would venture to say most certainly. But to counter that, I've not seen any released video from the United States government that has a human being coming out of it, or anything coming out of any of these craft. I mean, that's
right.
You know,
right. So we don't know, right?
We don't know, but they're showing these orbs. I'm calling it an orb because it's a blob. It's an indistinguishable blob on a grainy black and white video of something that dips into the water. I mean, if we go back to some of the research that I've been doing on this, there are a tremendous amount of transmedium vehicles that, ironically, the Navy themselves uses. We've had, on March of this year, the Navy announced its plan to acquire 120 Blackwing MP UAVs. This is what the Navy calls, or this is what we call a transmedium vehicle. The Navy calls it an MP UAV, multi-purpose unmanned aerial vehicle. So they're going to get 120 of these things for their submarines. This is a small folding UAV launched from below the surface and capable of flight. It can be launched in the air via a submerged submarine. It's basically packed into a canister that's ejected from the underwater submarine. The canister then floats up and shoots the Blackwing out into the air. So the Navy is getting those things, 120 of them. I've got, as a matter of fact, let me see if I can do this. I don't know if I can.
And as you do that, McGowan, I'm just going to go ahead and reset the room here real quick. So for those of you just joining us, we're talking about the difference between what UFOs or UAPs are versus drones. And so Jeremy is somebody who's been investigating this for quite a while. He has had his own UAP sighting experience, so he's not a debunker, but he has extensive knowledge of drone technology and UAV technology. And the purpose of what we're attempting to do today is to understand the difference between drones or UAVs and what a UAP or UFO sighting is. So we're going to get to we're going to continue digging deep into that. Jeremy, did you find what you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm going to copy this into this is a link that I want you to bring up, if you can. Now, one of the things that I want to make clear on is I am not saying that everything that is being reported is domestic tech. If it's able to do something that is remarkable by any measurement of physics or aerodynamics or anything like that, chances are it's not ours. But what I'm saying is that what we have seen being released by the US government, like the Corbell videos and things like that, they are unremarkable by flight characteristics.
Right.
So what you're looking at right there is this is called the well, it's a flying submarine called the CI, and this is designed by Saab, the same guys that build the Saab cars. This is for the Royal Navy. It was privately designed and basically sold to the Royal Navy. It was not something that was commissioned by the Royal Navy. Saab decided and said, "Hey, we're gonna build a flying submarine, and oh, by the way, we're gonna sell it to the military." And that's exactly what they've done.
And so is this still in, so they've sold it prior to actually building this thing? I mean, is this
They've
an
built proof of
object
concept
now?
It is an object. It is still in the
Okay.
proof of concept phase. But what I'm saying is that this is a private company that decided to take their own funds and build something and then say, "Oh, hey, we'd like to sell this to you." Instead of the government saying, "Hey, we want industry to build something
Right.
with these requirements." And then, you have a bunch of companies that compete against each other and the technology comes out there. This is a company that went ahead and did it. So if
Right.
this company went ahead and did it once, you can pretty much guarantee that other companies have done this at the requests of governments.
Yeah.
Right.
It looks so much like a fish.
It really does. It
Well,
almost
it looks like a flying fish.
Yeah,
or
Yep.
or like a sea lion even. You know how
absolutely.
they're super
I
sleek.
mean, do you think that thing would fly? Look at that thing, man. I don't know.
Yeah, how's it flying? So is this actually supposed to actually fly, or is this thing just supposed to propel itself out of the water and catch
skim.
a fish? Like, what do we and catch a
Because
bird?
because flying fish pop out of the water and they
They
skim.
do, yeah.
They skim, for quite a while, and then they
Sure.
pop back in, and then flop back out, and then they flap again, and so maybe it's maybe
Nimble-
it's not like
Well, let me-
at like a jet where it goes high altitude.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's say that you're flying your F-18 over relatively calm waters and you see this thing pop out of the ocean, get to about 80 or 90 feet, and then dip back down underneath of the water. Are you going to change your flight suit?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm gonna be thinking I just saw a UAP, unless I know this technology exists.
I mean, damn, dude, I just can't imagine any, especially someone like Saab, making something like this that works as well as, say, an actual biological flying fish. Like, I feel like it would skim once, hit the water, and then it would have to reset. It'd take a minute or two, and then get speed underwater again. And then it wouldn't be like the Aguadilla where it's just dipping in and out, in and out, in and out.
Well, let me bring a little bit of reality to you.
Yeah,
The Wright brothers to the moon landing
yeah.
was separated by 66 years. We went from
Yeah.
bicycle engines or bicycle chains and big ass propellers on canvas wings to landing people on the moon in a span of 66 years.
Yeah.
We have done a whole lot more in other fields with other technologies in that same span of time.
But don't you think since 1966 to 2021, there hasn't been as many aeronautical breakthroughs? Like the 747 pretty much still is the same thing, just a little more fuel efficient, bigger. It's the same shape. It's the same, like we're still flying around in the same cans, like even the F-16s and the B-2s, like the new drones that they approved 100 orders of, which I think it was at a price tag of 50 million a piece. So 100 million for two of them. And they're just smaller versions of the B-2 bomber. They're drones. They just look exactly like it, and they're manless. I don't know. I'm just saying it doesn't seem like it's still two wings and a jet. Like
Right.
it doesn't seem like it's past that. Even though we hit the moon, like we haven't gone back. You know, it seems like we maybe have gotten lazy with it. It's not that the technology maybe doesn't exist. It's just it's like, oh, we got to the moon. All right, yeah, I think we're good there.
Well, and you even look at SpaceX and you look at, the rockets that we're sending up there now. I mean, they're basically the same thing. The only difference is now they can stick a landing where we used to have to throw these things into the ocean and start over every single time. So now we have this extraordinary. So that's a huge change. But at the same time, we're still using combustion engines.
Yeah.
We're still using rocket propulsion. We're still using, explosives to get us off the ground, right?
I tell you what. What I'm putting in the chat right now, it's a small little video. I want to see if you can actually play this.
Did you want to hit this thing that you just sent me as well?
Well, this is the same thing. This is the video description of what you're looking at there. So we can just go to the video for a moment.
Okay. Let me find the video here.
You can. I'll have you fast forward through part of it here.
Okay.
But Luis, this speaks exactly to what you're talking about the shapes. It's still just wings with an engine.
Okay, but I want to show you if you want me to.
I got it.
Okay.
Ready? Go.
Car myself.
Okay, let's get through this commercial here. We should talk over the commercial.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So this is the Cormorant. This is from Lockheed. Now, people are going to take it to task really quickly and say that this was canceled in 2008. And I will say that, yes, it was officially canceled in 2008. The reason that it was officially canceled in 2008 is specifically because more efficient technology was developed during the prototyping of this craft. Now, if you want to fast forward a little bit up through the point where they're showing how this actually takes off, this is a ballistically launched craft that comes out of the Trident missile tubes of Ohio-class submarines, shoots out of the water, and is fully capable of flight. And it returns to the water. Now, that is not a normal shape because it has gull wings, because it has to fold to fit inside of circular tubes. Mm-hmm. This technology that you're looking at right now, if you come back to the most recent videos where we're looking at things that took a while to come down into the water, as they were on the video, we saw it kind of go in and hover, and then it slowly.
You're talking about the Corbell video.
Yeah, it slowly descended into the water.
I've got that one pulled up.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, do it.
I'm not saying that this is the same thing. What I'm saying is the technology that was canceled in 2008 was canceled because we had better stuff.
Right. So you're saying it's very possible that some of these things are just versions of that, but are better and classified.
Yes. What I'm saying is what we're seeing on this video right here is displaying nothing that cannot be attributed to conventional aircraft. I'm not saying it's not a UAP, but what I'm saying is this video shows us zero proof of this being a UAP.
Right. And at the same time, though, we are collecting data. This is a data point, a potential data point that should be looked at in collaboration with the entire phenomenon, as opposed to simply debunked, one by one. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's frustrating to me that, people can come in and go, okay, I can debunk this, so there's nothing of value here to give us any information and to begin to tell the entire story.
What I'm saying is that we don't have enough information based on this video to make any determination about anything. All we're seeing is a black blob going into the water. We have no ancillary data. We have no measurements. We have no indications of temperature. We have no indications of distance from the camera on this thing. As far as we know, we don't know what we're looking at, but it's being given to us by the U.S. government and saying that it is unidentified. Well, if that is the case, show us the data that went with this video. Show us the heat signature. Show us the radar. What did the radar cross-section on this thing look like? Because a lot of the times, if you're using active radar and it's not a stealth type of design, you can actually use the signature of the radar return for target identification, because A 747 is going to reflect something differently than a Frisbee, and you're going to be able to understand what the object is based on its radar return. So where is that data?
Right. But, well, they're not giving it to us. This is leaked footage that was delivered to us by Jeremy Corbell. This has nothing to do
But
with
it's
the
not
U.S.
leaked.
government.
It's not leaked.
What do you mean it's not leaked?
You're not taking a phone into the Combat Information Center of a ship.
It didn't
and
come from a
recording.
phone. It came from a Viper team. And they record it on different devices. That's where it came from. It wasn't from a cell phone. That's been established. Because you're right, they're not. Those cell phone recordings are not allowed in there. That was recorded by a specific military team, and that's what got leaked. However we want to define that. But
So where is that guy?
where's which guy?
The guy that's going through court martial right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know, Jeremy.
What about this question, Jeremy? I have to ask, without anti-gravity, where is the heat signature from the inevitable engine? It just doesn't look like it has flight controls. I agree, it may be our tech, but it's fancy-ass tech.
Batteries, electric motors, ducted fans. You have propellers over the top of these things, or you have ducted fans that push the heat in. If you're filming from here and the object is here, right, I'm only going to see what the camera can see. If the heat signatures on the other side or being vented away from whatever is filming it, you're not going to see that.
Okay. That's interesting. Neurostream says the blip out into the water always confuses my eyes. It by itself is kind of low quality data. What do you think of that blip out? Yeah, it's confusing, right?
I don't know what it is. I'm not saying that it is our technology. I'm not saying that it's a Coromant or a Coromant inspired vehicle. I'm not even saying that it's, ONI or China or Russia. I don't know what it is. And that's what I'm trying to get everybody else to say. Isn't everybody
saying that though? Aren't we all saying that? Nobody knows what this stuff is.
No, this is exactly what has happened. Everybody has adopted the idea of UAP meaning the same thing as what we emotionally feel when we connotate the idea of a UFO, right? Everybody thinks UFO means otherworldly craft, and that has been taken by the UAP. And when you say the government is saying that this is unidentified, everybody is already leaping to the idea that if it's unidentified, it can't be us. That's incorrect.
Right. No, that's a really good point. MP says it could be dolphins.
Could be dolphins. But what about the circumstances surrounding it, McGowan? Like the idea that it was who did Jazz say that was talking in this video, and sort of the commands that they were giving? Like this was not a routine everyday object. Right. This was not something that they were used to seeing.
No, you're absolutely right. It's not something they're used to seeing, but at the same time, listen to the audio again. Eyes up, eyes down, splash, splash, right? There's no emotion in any of this. I have participated in dozens of exercises. I've gone through actual real world crap. And when it is an exercise, it is an exercise because there's guys walking around with white hats for safety inspections, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that the Navy does the exact same thing, but when something is an exercise. There was no emotion in this. If I'm a Viper team, if I'm in a CIC and I'm looking at something that is coming at my ship and I cannot identify it, and I have a responsibility to the crew and to the captain of that vessel to tell them what the hell is happening, and I can't do that, I'm not going to be that calm.
Right.
But I mean, there was some emotion, wasn't there?
Yeah, I felt like there was a little emotion, and the idea that
because you've never been in that situation.
Well, yeah, of course, but I mean, but Jazz has, and Jazz didn't feel like that was normal conversation, and Jazz worked in the CIC, and I would say, why launch a helo ASAP, as in we were not planning this thing to be there because they wanted to get eyes on it as soon as possible. What about that aspect of it?
Well, in an exercise, you don't You don't do things in advance in an exercise that you would not do in advance in a real world scenario. So you don't cheat. Even if you know that you're going to have something come at your vessel as an unidentified target, and you're going to have to go through all the phases of identification, acquisition, and scrambling of aircraft, you're not going to launch the aircraft before you're supposed to launch the aircraft.
But they did. I mean, when that thing splashed, like you could hear the emotions in their voices when they were saying splash. Like there was emotion there, right?
Sure. And it may well have been, think of it this way. We have, and I'm not saying that this is what happened. I'm giving an alternate idea for this. Let's say it was a targeting pod, and this was an exercise to see how well our U.S. Navy could splash an enemy drone. So we launch our own targeting pod out there. It is flying around. These guys hit it with an EMF weapon or whatever type of anti-drone technology, and now they're like eyes up, eyes down. They're going through that, and then all of a sudden their anti-drone tech hits it and it splashes it. They're like, yeah, we got it. That's the excitement level.
Hey, MP says, you guys got me heated. As soon as I find the super chat, y'all done. Well,
please find my Patreon. Find my Patreon. No. He already has. Did you open a Patreon, Mikey?
I did. If you
nice
NP, if you click on the link below in the description, you can click on the Patreon and you come back and you show me you did that. We'll send you anything you want to Jeremy.
So what about the idea that, Jeremy, this is one, or how long was it? A minute out of an hour-long event.
Well, I think that's also suspect as hell.
How so?
What? Well, I mean, if you, okay. This is funny. I am a certified FART, F-A-R-T. Fatal Accident Reconstruction Technician. I went through a DoD training class to go to what's called lethal accidents, fatal accidents, and be able to look at the evidence left on the roadway, analyze the speed of impacts, and figure out who caused the accident. What was the cause of the accident, right? You don't take out a portion.
Oh, we just got $100 Patreon. We just got $100 Patreon right here. MP. So you keep going, Jeremy, but anything MP says it's going straight up. We're going straight up.
But you don't take a portion of that evidence and present it to the judge. You take everything. You take the road conditions. You take the speed of the vehicle and the estimated distance away from the object when the driver first noticed the danger, and you calculate the reaction time. Then you look at the surface conditions of the road and you calculate the friction coefficients based on the vehicle's tires and the tire wear. You don't take out the part that makes the guy guilty. You give them the entire story. So the fact that this is 1 minute out of an hour-long event, I want to know what the hell happened before, what the hell happened after that. Because
you're just asking for more data. You're asking for more data to piece together the puzzle. And I think we all are on the same page on that, right? I mean, none of us here can make any determination as to what the hell we're looking at with the limited data we have, right?
Look, if you're going to leak a video, you've got access to the whole damn video. Leak the whole thing. There's a reason that only 1 minute of it went out. Is that reason because the 48 minutes before and the 12 minutes after prove that this was something that we're being led to believe that it wasn't?
NP wants to know, does Jeremy think this is some
Salvador Pais tech? I don't know. I don't know what it is. I have a lot of opinions. I have a lot of ideas, but I don't know definitively anything. All I want people to do is look and apply critical thinking. Just because it's not able to be identified by us does not mean that it was not identified by the U.S. Navy or the ONI or the DNI, and it certainly doesn't necessarily mean that even if it wasn't identified by them, that it belongs from an origin off planet.
Right. And we need more data. I mean, I agree with that. And I don't think, never has UAP actually meant extraterrestrial. It's always
No.
meant unidentified aerial phenomenon, and so is UFO for that matter.
Yes.
But these things get conflated in
Because
the
of
collective
emotion.
imagination. Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's kind of, and we're going to get into this in the second hour, because we're going to bring in Aaron Disario in the second hour. We're going to really break this down, because there's a whole mainstream narrative that's being created right now that I think we need to get a handle on and figure out if it's going the right direction. And we need to make sure that we're being as analytically driven as possible with this subject. Now, I have my own beliefs, I have my own ideas, I have my own convictions, but if we're going to have these conversations in a scientific manner and we're going to be disseminating this information to the public, we need to be as clear and as conscious as possible in how we disseminate that information. And it can't be from the gut. We can't be shooting from the hip here. Somebody asked if you think Lou Elizondo is sharing what he really knows and believes, or if you think there is any sort of backdoor stuff going on. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know what he means by backdoor stuff.
Let me go back to maybe you can ask the question again. I'll hold off on that. MP says, Jeremy, you literally pour over DoD docs on the daily. What do you think it is?
All right. For clarification, I don't necessarily pour over DoD docs. I write them. I'm the guy that sits down. I'm a technical writer, and with a clearance. And I'm the one who interviews subject matter experts when the government comes out and they put out a request for a proposal saying that, hey, we want a unmanned aerial vehicle with X, Y, and Z capabilities. I'm the one that my company goes out, sends out to the subject matter experts. We find out what the capabilities are, what the flight times are. I write the packets. So I know a lot, not everything, but I know a lot about what our capabilities are. I don't know what the hell this shit is. I don't want to speculate what it is. What I'm doing is I'm saying that in the videos that we are seeing, only in the videos that we are seeing, nothing is attributable to anything that cannot be replicated by conventional aircraft. I'm not saying that what happened was not true UAP. What I'm saying is what we see in the videos can be attributed to domestic aircraft.
I'm really going to regret saying backdoor stuff.
The minute you said it, I did like my 5-year-old giggle, and then
she's like, they're going to come after you. Despite the lack of data from Gov, there is so much footage of UFOs or other phenomena filmed or documented by the public that disclosure isn't even a question anymore. We need the government to be honest. Jeremy, are they going to be honest with us? Are we going to get answers?
We're going to get answers. Can you trust the answers that we get, though? That's the big question. I mean, name me 1 year in the last 253 of the United States' existence that the government hasn't lied to the American population.
or,
a whole year?
you know,
A whole year.
dance around an answer.
Or
Was that a yes or a no? Well, it was a possible maybe.
We cannot trust, man. Even if the government comes out and shows us video of a craft landing on the White House lawn, because of the proliferation of deep fakes and that technology, you can't believe it unless you're standing there and you can throw a rock and bounce it off the shielding of the thing, right?
Right. But even if you could do that, aren't we getting to the point where technology is so good, deep fakes are so good? I mean, does anyone believe anything, even if they touch it? Like, can you convince anybody of anything these days?
That's where faith comes into all this, and I don't even want to go there. But the idea of a government that for 75 years has told us it was a friggin' weather balloon to now turn around and change their mind and tell us that it was glib glob from Zeta Reticuli, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, NP says, get these Lockheed drones out of here. Love you, Jeremy. So let's clear the table real quick.
Well, wait a second, but I was going to say, but on some level, you have to be buying it because you do believe that true UAP exists, no?
Yes, but not what we're being shown by our government.
So you think everything the government's putting out, every single piece of data is manipulated or a lie?
You can be very careful about how I.
Yeah, you got to be very careful about how you answer that one, pal. I mean, like, honestly, like, everything that's been made public, are you saying it's all bullshit? And if it is, why?
Not all of it, but it's impossible to tell what is and what isn't.
No, I agree there. I
Because
agree there.
Even in you go back to the CIA reading rooms, right? We have a type of intelligence gathering that is basically called intercept data. And what we do is we fake documents and we put them into classified systems and we transmit them from point A to point B, knowing that somebody somewhere is going to intercept that data, right? They remain in the classified archives. And then 35, 45, 55 years later, they get declassified. And now somebody looks at this and they're like, holy crap, alien bodies existed in Hangar 18? We don't know if that was an intercept trap. It was like a honeypot that was put there, or if it's real. We have no way of knowing.
So, okay, so what about when you go back and look at, 1950 or 1947 or 1954, when you've got military personnel talking about lozenges in the sky, military personnel talking about cigar-shaped objects in the sky, and then you've got in 2004, you've got people talking about Tic Tacs. Like, don't you think there is? Nobody had the technology. It's easy to say now, right? We've got drone technology that's insane now, but we did not have this technology in 1954, 1947, maybe even 2004. What do you say to that?
I say I haven't seen it. And nobody else has either, because it was based solely on witness testimony. We didn't have gun cams. We didn't have FLIR in 1950. We have none of the blurry video that we are portraying around. All we have is testimony from people that were in the military at the time of their witnessing this.
And just like you have a sighting, you have your own sighting. So basically what you're saying is
bullshit as far as data analysis is concerned.
But what you've seen, the UAP, the UFO that you saw, you believe you saw it, and you believe it was something that was not Russian tech, Chinese tech, or US tech. Is that accurate?
I do believe that. I have no way of proving it, nor am I running around trying to say that my sighting is proof of it. That is my belief.
Got it. Which is fair. I think that's the right move, because you can't say for a fact what it is, but you
Correct.
can share what you saw. And I believe that this is all part of the same thing. I don't think there's ever going to be anything that proves anything to anyone. I think we have to gather as much data as possible, give people the facts, and then they can make their own mind up.
But would you also say that your eyewitness testimony is more valid than, say, a crossing guard?
Why would it be?
Because you were 10 feet away from a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
Like, I mean, to get 10 feet away from a nuclear weapon, I think makes you a little bit better of an observer. No? A little bit? I mean...
Or it makes me really stupid because I was 10 feet away from a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, but you would... you know what? A crossing guard's job is to be 5 feet away from moving traffic. Like, that's dangerous as well.
I was an idiot. I was an absolute idiot at that time. I was 24, 25 years old, and I was being told to stay the hell away from that crate. Don't let anybody get near the crate. Don't get near the crate, right? I did everything backwards from what they told me. I stood on it. I sat on it. I laid down on it. I pissed on it. I was not smart about it. And 9 years ago, I was diagnosed with a very specific... What's that?
I'm sorry. Before you go say what you were diagnosed with, and please share that, but what did you just say? You pissed on a nuclear weapon?
I pissed on the crate that the nuclear weapon was in, yeah. A few times. And then 9 years ago, I was diagnosed with a very specific type of skin cancer on my inner right thigh that is only caused by exposure to radiation. So I don't know that I'm smarter than the crossing guard.
That's a fair point. I guarantee you that Kristen would not have pissed on the crate that was carrying the nuclear weapon, so she might be smarter than all of us here.
Well, I don't have that equipment necessarily.
Yeah, you could squat over it. Come on.
It reminded me of how they're still around, but the big electrical boxes that used to be in front of your house when you were a kid, and how our parents told us to stay away, and we would all play on it and sit on it and hang out on it because it was like a cool base.
I'm certain I would have pissed. I've pissed on one of those, no doubt about it. So let's go ahead and reset the room here. So we are 1 hour in. We're gonna do a second hour here, and we're gonna get into this mainstream narrative, and we're gonna continue to talk about this topic because I think it is important, but I think it does relate to this mainstream narrative about what is coming out right now about UFOs, UAPs. Bill Clinton chatted today about this subject, but it is interesting because we're getting so many similar talking points coming out of so many people. It's almost as if there's a coordinated effort to communicate one narrative, and I want to talk about that. But before we do that, I want to bring in our next guest for today. So for those of you who don't know, he's a huge fan of the show, Aaron Disario. He's a science and technology enthusiast and currently works as a staff software engineer at Google, working on photos for iOS. He previously worked at LucasArts, Silicon Graphics, and Apple, where he co-invented and received a patent for iPhoto, a pioneer in digital photo organization. Welcome, Aaron. How are you?
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have you. I appreciate you joining the stream today. You've got whenever we're talking about anything science or tech, like I know that if somebody's going to prove me wrong in the comments, it's Aaron. So glad to have you here, Aaron.
Sorry, no.
No, I appreciate it. You got to keep us honest. And that's this whole thing. And that's what we're trying to do here at the Singularity Lab. That's what we're trying to do at the Unidentified Celebrity Review is talk about these subjects, talk about the breaking tech, the breaking science, talk about this UAP phenomenon in ways that are factual, so we can actually bring you guys the facts and understand and extrapolate on those facts. So thank you so much, Aaron. We appreciate what you do.
Cool. Thanks for having me. Can I ask a quick question to Jeremy here? I wanted to find out what happened about that film you were working on last summer.
The one with Lou and Sean?
Yeah, Lou and Sean, exactly.
Oh,
I walked away from it.
Real.
Oh, okay.
I walked away from that project completely. I am involved in another one outside of them. Totally different feeling, totally different guarantee towards the data integrity and science aspect of it. And we start filming next month. But that one, I walked off.
Fair enough.
Wow. Is there anything else you want to share about that, or is that all you have to say about that?
I mean, I don't want to disparage anybody publicly, but there was a lot of things that were going on that just weren't right. There was a lot of things that I don't feel that you can demand transparency and hold back data at the same time.
Interesting.
Wow.
All right.
So that's what he was talking about earlier with asking for more data, right? He's absolutely right. Jeremy, you're 100% right here in that we're not given anything but these little drips and drabs every now and then, and it is completely useless for any kind of analysis. In fact, all it does is it supplies ammunition to the debunkers because they can come up with prosaic explanations for any 1 minute video that you could happen to come up with, right? You need, like you said, you need the context, you need the GPS data, you need any radar data that was taken at the same time in order to form any kind of real opinion.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we do have radar data from that night. We do have, the DoD confirming that those objects are unknown. You've got the video from that night.
You trust the government?
Well, you got a radar picture. You got a radar picture.
We've got a video of a scope that's being said that it's depicting that event, but we don't know that. When you're an actor, Lewis, when you do a video with multiple cameras, everything is synced to the same timestamp, right?
Right.
Show me the video of the scope with the same timestamp that we're looking at from the Viper team.
That's fair. It's just no one from the Pentagon side of things has said that's inaccurate. No one from that side has gone, no, no, that hasn't happened. That's not accurate. Those dates are wrong. Those ships are wrong. Those times are wrong. The people, the teams, all that shit's wrong. None of that has been said on any aspect of it. So that's, and maybe there's a purpose to that. You know,
The government
we don't
never
know.
volunteers information.
Of course not. But then again, if they've got no interest like they've had for the last 60, 70 years in this topic, they would just shoot it down immediately like they have for decades. Why aren't they doing that right now? That's the thing, is like they have the opportunity to poo-poo all of this. They could easily come out with a statement tomorrow going, all of these videos, all of these things, they're prosaic, very explanational, in some cases secret tech, in some cases Chinese tech. And a story. That's it. We don't want to hear another damn word of it. They're not doing that. They're taking questions in the press room. Like this is not a conversation that they're stamping out like they have in the past.
They're having a disclosure moment at this time, right? The disclosure is going to happen. It may not be the disclosure that we want, but it will be some sort of disclosure that there's some non-human intelligence involved here. I think we will know that by the end of the year. You know, the question then is, do they continue with the story, right? You know, what comes after that?
Right.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Oh no, that was all. Or like, are they calculate? Is it like, are they slowly dripping stuff out to get us more and more acclimated to the idea that there's something without really giving us any information?
I think so. I think that's a huge possibility. I think that's exactly what's could potentially be happening. NP says, can Jeremy get over his background experience? I don't know exactly what you mean by that, NP. I know you love Jeremy, so I don't know. I'm curious what you mean by that. This is definitely a wild situation, and it is very clear that the government, whenever these things are leaked out, they're saying these are we cannot explain this. They're saying unequivocally that they cannot explain this, and it's a really interesting scenario here, and it seems like a narrative is being built between the government and the mainstream media, and I'm trying to piece together this entire thing. And it's very, very much of a challenge. So somebody just asked if they could super chat. So all you got to do we can't super chat yet because we're not monetized yet, but please subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you share so we get monetized. Also, in the description below, you can click the link for Patreon. For anybody who NP already did it, so he gets. We're going to listen to everything NP has to say today. If anybody who else wants to do that instead of super chatting, all you got to do is go to Patreon, and we'll see that there. So don't feel like you can't donate if you want, if you love the show. So, I mean, you know, what are we thinking with this mainstream narrative? So you had Bill Clinton come out today and talk about the subject, but as usual, it's the exact same talking point as an Obama. It's the exact same talking point that we hear from people like Radcliffe. It's the same version. It's just a different version of the same conversation. And I'm just wondering, we had Sam Harris. So for those of you who don't know who Sam Harris is a public intellectual. He's got 1.2 million followers on his podcast and across social media. He is a guy that is extremely articulate and can communicate in such a way to break down very complex topics to make them very simple for folks. He said that he's been reached out to by the USG and they want to get on a Zoom conversation with him and talk about this UAP UFO phenomenon. So
did he though? Didn't he say that he was reached out to by ex-intelligence officers or ex-leaders of the CIA, not official representation?
CIA. Were they ex?
I think it was a qualification that it was an ex.
Can anybody in the
CIA.
chat clarify for us if you know specifically the words he used? I think that'll be important.
Well, let's see if I can find the audio.
We just had another Patreon. Alan, could you tell us what your name here is on YouTube, and we'll make sure we get your super chat. Sorry, go ahead, Luis.
No, I was gonna say I've got that audio if you want to hear it.
Oh yeah, hit it.
It's 2 minutes and 20 seconds long. Let me just share my screen. Although, hold on a second. I need another second because, well, you know what? Screw it. I'll just play through this.
MP says, I can't throw bills at you like a stripper. Game over. Someday soon, MP.
Someday soon.
We'll be
Don't you worry.
You can
scrambling.
throw the
He's
Doge
we're
coin.
how many subscribers? How many throw the Doge? How many
the
subscribers are you
Doge.
away from monetizing, Michael?
We're pretty close, actually. I think we just
Yeah.
hit 625 today, so we're over
Under
halfway
300.
there.
Under
Yeah.
300. Yeah. So
We're up like 400 in the past 28 days, which is fantastic. You guys are amazing. You got it there?
Nope.
You got volume on it?
Nope, I sure don't. No, yeah, I can't get this video because I'm not. Yeah.
Here, send it to me. I can get it.
You can get it. Yeah, I'll
the,
send you the link. I'll send you. The link.
Yeah. Shoot me the link and I'll get it for you.
You want to let me do this.
So what do you guys think about this narrative that's being developed? That we're seeing a lot of people talking about the same things in the same ways who are in positions of power.
So we probably need to first try to figure out what the final narrative is. You know, what is it that they know that they are trying to communicate to us? And so then you can work backward from that and figure out the way that they're going to get there.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
Well, so for me, it's all about credibility. Who has credibility in this story? And that's people like Chris Mellon and Luis Elizondo and Steve Justice, who went off to TTSA. And they affiliated for a while with Tom DeLonge. Mm-hmm. And Tom DeLonge has put out quite a bit of information about what he thinks the final narrative is.
Okay.
And that's pretty readily available. And
what does Tom say, like in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, Tom is saying that we were created by alien races, and for some reason or another, they have pitted us against each other to fight wars, either on their behalf or to get us to evolve faster, or who knows the reasons of aliens, right?
Reality television.
I mean, maybe it's just as simple as cockfighting.
Yeah, or for entertainment, exactly, right.
Yeah.
So, and that's his story, is that the ancient alien stories are, for the most part true. That the figures that have appeared in various texts in the Quran, in the Bible, were influenced by aliens pretending to be gods.
Okay. That's an interesting.
So what I'm saying is that Tom DeLonge to me is pretty credible because of the people he was surrounded by, who made zero attempt to distance themselves from Tom during the time that he was releasing all of these stories. They were all in at TTSA at the time, and Tom was, at the same time off holding these podcasts. The one with Joe Rogan, infamously. That where Joe basically didn't buy into Tom's story at all.
But that was but wasn't that right before TTSA had launched?
Exactly. Yeah, that was in, I think, October 2017.
It's funny he's never gone back to Rogan after that launched. You figure he would have gone back
there, right? I don't know how that went over.
For which round 3, 4, or 5 of his cash raise for the company.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like Tom DeLonge had some pretty crazy things to say, and then 3 months later, turns out Tom DeLonge was right on a lot of the stuff he said. Not all of it, obviously. There was some pretty crazy shit he said in there. But I would assume after the New York Times article had come out that somebody would have been like, hey, maybe let's get Tom DeLonge back on here and see what he's got to say again. Because he was talking to John Podesta, who was right-hand man for Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. And, he was having emails and exchanges with some very high-level officials. I mean, for God's sakes, he got Luis Elizondo. Because of him, partly we know who Luis Elizondo and Christopher Mellon are.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, the thing about Tom is that I think he may come to his own conclusions in some cases with the data he was given by the generals and whoever he spoke to. I think maybe some of this story might be his own conclusions based on the data rather than what he was explicitly told. Because he does focus a lot, I think, on the war aspect. And as I said, who knows the motives of aliens, and maybe that's not it. He also talks about how the U.S. government has known this, and that the Cold War was, in a way, sort of a pretense to build up armaments against the alien races, under the pretext of building up against the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union doing the same kind of thing. I'm so that's the kind of thing I'm not all that clear on. Again, these famous defense and intelligence people have not distanced themselves from him except recently, and I believe that was strictly a business decision and not anything to do with what he was saying.
Well, and maybe not. I mean, Elizondo broke away from TTSA, and now he's launched his own company, similar, which has a similar vision as TTSA. So it's interesting whether it's a purely financial decision or if he was trying to distance himself from Tong Dalong. Obviously, that remains to be seen. Real quick, before we play this clip, Jeremy, can you share with folks what you did in the military and your experience with the military?
No, it depends on the years, but yeah, primarily I was basically like Sean Cahill. We were both cops. I was an Air Force Security Forces officer. I was attached to JSOC. I spent 2.5 years in the Middle East, about 1.5 years down in Colombia, attached to the DEA, and traveled during the 12 years that I was in approximately 22 different countries. So I was a veteran of Desert Storm, served in several smaller combat operations, and some of them you've heard of, some of them you haven't.
Well, we appreciate your service, sir. I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this audio real quick.
The other shoe hasn't quite dropped here, but there was recently an article in the Washington Post. This may have been covered many other places, but I saw it there, that the Office of Naval Intelligence and the Pentagon are scheduled to brief Congress about the wealth of data the government has on UFOs.
All right.
Right. And stuff leaked or was leaked purposely during this last year and got surprisingly little attention. But the rumors that I've heard, and again, this is still just in the mode of rumors, but perhaps soon to be confirmed, is that our intelligence services and the Pentagon are going to tell Congress that this is real, right? This is a real phenomenon, right? It's not that UFOs have been explained to the satisfaction of the government. On the contrary,
They'd have to change their name.
they have seen that there's technology that really can't be of human origin, right? That they don't think this is the Chinese or the North Koreans or some other part of human society producing technology that is strange, and they can't write it off as anomalies of perception. I mean, there's just too much radar data, there's too much satellite imagery at this point, and the stuff they're sitting on that's top secret is much better than anything that's been leaked out. This is probably premature to even talk about this, but I have someone reached out to me and has assured me that I'm going to be on a Zoom call with former heads of the CIA and Office of Naval Research, and with people who's
Former.
easy to track, and they're concerned about the messaging around all of this to the public and dampening down panic and conspiracy theories. But what's being promised here is a disclosure that is, frankly, either the most alarming or the most interesting thing in the world, depending on how you take it. But it's not a representation of the facts that will give scientific skeptics any comfort. And that's just, we're faced with the prospect of having to apologize to the people we've been laughing at for the last 50 years, who have been alleging that, they've been abducted or that, cattle have been anally probed. Pick your punchline.
So that wasn't the audio where he talks about being contacted.
Well, he did. He said former.
Yeah. He said.
Oh, he did say former. Okay.
He did say former.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's funny that they want to talk to him about the messaging aspect of this and how they don't want the people to panic.
Well, he kind of jumped the shark in saying that now, didn't he?
What do you mean?
If there's a group out there that doesn't want people to panic and they go to Sam Harris to try to craft a message, and Sam Harris says, hey, people came to me to craft a message about not panicking. Well,
nobody
now
listens
people
to
are
the
going to
government,
friggin' panic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was...
Nobody's going to believe
kind
it,
of
right? Even if Sam Harris says it, nobody's going to believe it on its own. It's going to have to be bigger than that.
I found it fascinating, though, that he talked about we're going to have to make up with these folks we've been making fun of for the past 20 years, because Sam Harris has been a very outspoken, I don't want to call him a debunker, but he's been very outspoken about his disbelief in both the UFO and the abduction phenomenon. So to go to Sam Harris, somebody who's been an incredibly direct skeptic, is a really interesting move in this process, and it actually makes a lot of sense, really, because those are the very people you're probably trying to get at. Am I wrong?
I'm pretty sure they've already reached out to Neil deGrasse Tyson as well, because he has changed his story slightly. And when he was on Colbert the last time, Colbert, instead of flat out denying, he did the I can't talk about it kind of thing that I ended up creating a meme out of that. But that's so I think that's possible that many of them are being contacted.
This is getting wild, you guys. Like what about, I mean, if they are trying to construct a narrative, what should we be concerned about?
Everything.
Well, so again, we get back to the story, right? If that is what's happening, and Tom DeLonge is right, what do we want out of this? So that's before you can say what kind of narrative do we want. What do we want as people to come out of this? So you find out that you're being controlled by an alien race, right? Okay, now what's next?
Well, my initial gut reaction was, how do we get uncontrolled?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, the libertarian speech.
I think that's the thing. I think Lou's been sort of hinting at is this: we would be forced to erase these tribal lines in the sand, and especially if we're being controlled by it. Like I don't think, especially you, McGowan, you don't like to be told when to water your lawn. So
another part of the story,
if an alien race is telling you how to, basically controlling the strings, do you think that's enough to get all of these governments and some form of a UN to represent a world government as one?
And before you answer that, there's one other piece to this puzzle that has been made public, and that is during the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was I think it was called Skyhook or something like that. It was a project to launch nuclear missiles into space, and they tested what the effects of that were. And the story goes there that was the first time we brought down a UFO intentionally.
Interesting.
Using EMP.
Skyhook was the name I used to play. I used to call myself when I played bocce. So I was the Skyhook.
Isn't bocce on the ground?
Not in my backyard.
They play all around the house. I've had broken windows. I think I've had people on the roof.
We used to go off the roof. We used to throw the bocce on the roof and bring it back down to guide it beautifully to its resting place. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying.
Actually, so it's Jeremy, I think, was going to comment.
I was just going to say, John Russell just asked a question about, I don't believe in an alien race is pulling the strings. We still have free will. It's interesting because when I was up at Lou's house earlier this year, standing by his barbecue pit, I had asked Lou a question very specific to the idea of free will and whether or not he actually, knowing everything that he knows now, things that he hasn't been able to communicate to us for clearance reasons and things like that, if he still thought that humanity has free will. And he stumbled and stammered and couldn't quite come up with a good answer to that because I don't think he was expecting the question. And I put the idea in his head. I said, well, do you think it's accurate to say that if humanity is driving in a car down a freeway, we have free will just as long as we stay on the freeway? We can do anything we want to on the freeway, but we just can't get off at the exit. And he said, he patted me on the back and he said, that is exactly where he thinks at this point.
Right, but I mean, you could even go back as a, I was a philosophy minor in college, and this is we went on and on about free will for semester after semester. I mean, you could literally, I mean, there's so many distinctions that you could make when it comes to free will. Aliens are not, right? Like I have the free will to get out of bed in the morning. I have the free will to go to my refrigerator, but I don't have the free will to storm the White House. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't. There's things that I just can't physically do. I can't physically go to the moon today, right? I just can't do it.
Your statement might be dated a few.
Yeah, we stormed the Capitol.
Right, all right, yeah. Fair enough. Fine, you win. You guys win.
Most physicists, including like Sean Carroll, have
what?
decided that free will doesn't exist.
Right.
That it's all a block universe, and we're already playing out a script that is set in stone.
Right. I mean, there's a deterministic point of view, and then there's the free will point of view, and there's a spectrum in between. Night Gazer, I agree with Night Gazer. All I want from the aliens is intergalactic cruise ships. That is personally all I care about. Take my free will. Give me a cruise ship.
Yeah, and Carnival got grounded or got quarantined off the coast for like 3 or 4 months, and you're stuck out there. You imagine doing that during COVID if you're on an intergalactic ship? Nah. I'll pass on
Cruise
that.
ships are really, really nasty, just so you know.
It's true.
I used to work on one.
It's kind of hard.
I still
for
go
me-
on them though. I love them.
It's kind of hard for me to believe in. Well, sometimes anyway, not all the time. I mean, but when I think of free will, like, the son of Sam, like he clearly had free will. Like, guy was just, or the Night Stalker rather. He was just literally driving down the street, walking from house to house, seeing which one was unlocked, which one he could sneak into. It was just pure randomness.
Right, but what if the voices in your head are telling you to do it, and you can't stop those voices? Are you free?
I mean,
I don't
I think
pretty much
mental
whatever the
illness.
hell he wanted.
I think mental illness negates the very idea of free will.
That's
Say that again. Sorry, say that again, Jeremy.
I think that mental illness negates the basic fundamental idea of free
That's a
will.
good point.
If you have a
If
compulsion,
that's the case, doesn't everybody have mental illness of some
yes,
kind?
Of some kind. Yeah.
yes. If you have a compulsion, if you're like God, who played Matchstick Men?
I think that was George Clooney.
No,
Or
Oh,
can't
God, I can't think.
The guys
Think of
from
Yeah,
Godfather.
he's been in everything. Anyway, if you have a compulsion, you have to lock the door 3 times because you're that ADD or ADHD or you have that
Obsessive
obsessive
compulsive
compulsive
disorder.
disorder. You have no free will because you have to do that.
Yes. Yeah. And for some people with OCD, it's very, very severe.
Right. NP says, I said this the other night. We found future us and or gods. This is an idea that I have a lot of consideration for.
Yeah.
I think it's very possible that we are seeing some sort of some sort of time travel, some sort of future tech, because like that's kind of this whole idea of the show, right? So eventually when we hit the technological singularity, our technological abilities are so profound. And if we are able to then time travel, now you have this sort of future society going back and referencing its past self or interacting with it in some way. This is a fascinating a way to look at it. And I'm very interested in that idea.
What happens when we hit the technological singularity and we have input and output devices that are affecting the way that we view reality and observe our physical reality, and lines of code are coming in that are telling us something that we would not have seen before, right? Is that a negation of free will? Because now we're being influenced by something that is legitimately artificial.
We already are, right? I mean, if you look at the way we view the universe, we have a very narrow slice of what exists. And in a sense, it could be fed to us completely by some creature, some machine, whatever, and we wouldn't know.
Right. we were talking about this the other day, when you're in virtual reality, right? It's
Yeah.
very easy, you know, after hours and hours and hours of virtual reality, it's very easy to forget where you are, because the human mind processes where it is now. And it can be very difficult to differentiate what you're feeling and seeing versus what reality is. And, you know, I would even argue that my emotions and my mood, I mean, if I go too long without eating, I turn into an asshole, right? Is that free will? Am I freely deciding to be an asshole? No, I'm fucking hungry.
Yeah,
Right.
people that take steroids for weightlifting, you know, they have the roid rage. They can't control that limbic system dump. You know, that's a negation of free will.
Right. But the question is, within the scope of the reality you experience, do you have free will? And I think that for that, I would say for the most part, yes. Like, I have the ability to decide to go this way or that way, but it's within the scope of the reality I'm living in. It's within the scope of the game.
Kind of like the highway. Don't get off the exit.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
we're all
Exactly.
Pac-Man characters just moving around on the screen.
Aw.
John Russell says, I believe there are spiritual ways to get off the freeway. That's interesting.
That's interesting.
Or just onto another freeway.
Rather says, the us from the future is an interesting hypothesis. At MP, if my interpretation of Novikov self-consistency principle is true, they could interact with us, but only in mysterious, non-meaningful ways.
So the Novikov self-consistency principle basically says if you try to go back into the past to kill your own grandfather, you will fail. And the reason you will fail is because it has already happened that way. Your grandfather was born, and so any attempt that you made has already failed.
What if somebody else attempts to go in the past and kill your grandfather? Not you.
Doesn't matter; it'll still fail.
You know,
that
like
depends on if
for
it's like an
example, like
inconsistency or not.
could we go back in time and kill Hitler?
Oh, I see. I'd say no, because Hitler already existed, right? So anybody who goes in the past who tries to kill Hitler will fail because Hitler already existed.
But
So that's the Novikov self-consistency principle. And then there's the many worlds interpretation, which says that you end up in a different universe each time you go back. The universe plays out differently going forward from that point.
So
Right.
wouldn't Novikov be self-defeating, though? Because if you look at the whole ideas of quantum entanglements and everything like that, and the butterfly effect, that's just the simple act of going back in time and occupying a specific space-time, you have changed that history. You stepped on a bug, you moved a dirt particle, you've changed something that had already happened. So therefore,
Yeah, not
the
necessarily,
Novikov-
because you were there and you did already step on that bug in 1954, right? That did happen. You were there and you stepped on it.
But you going back in time and killing Hitler did not. So you may get there.
Recorded.
Correct. Yeah. So you may get there and step on a bug, and maybe that stepping on the bug has minuscule effects on the future, but not as big as it would as Hitler.
Well, it wouldn't
being-
have any effect on the future because technically what he's
Or the
saying
effect
is
it would have
it
had.
is the future.
It did have, right?
It
Right.
did
It
have,
did
right,
have.
You
right.
stepped on the bug,
right,
and the
right.
effect it had, it happened.
It happened. Oh boy.
Right. And
So
I
you
think
would
that-
either get hit by a car or something just crazy would happen every single time you're about to kill Hitler and you slip on a banana peel and you break your neck.
Yeah, and
Well,
the news stories, of course, covering this would have reported this poor guy who kept dying. Well, trying to get near this Hitler presentation or something. I don't know.
Well, and
Florida
there's-
man. It'll be
There's
Florida
also
man.
it's always Florida man. There's also the idea. I mean, time is not linear, right? So this idea of when you watch Back to the Future and he goes back in time and then he changes something and then the doc shows him that the timeline diverges. I think that's where the fallacy is. I think that's the fallacy. There is no timeline, right? It's
Right,
not.
so that's many worlds, and that basically is every possible action that can happen does happen.
Yeah.
And if you go back in time, then the universe that you lived in, you lived in that universe. Now you're in a different one. When you come back in time, you're now in a new universe where everything going forward will be different because you showed up.
Yeah.
Right, and it's moving. It's moving in a non-linear way. So there's infinite possibilities and infinite realities to create an experience. How did we get here?
Rabbit hole.
I don't know, but how do I transport this consciousness into the body that has a six pack and is a millionaire with a beach house?
Right. I could get into it on consciousness too. I mean, Wolfram has some amazing ideas about how our consciousness slices through reality, and I'd need to read it again before I had a real opinion on it. But it's an amazing viewpoint that had never occurred to me before.
Well, Mikey, let's reset, shall we?
Absolutely. You wanna hit it? You wanna reset for us?
Yeah. So we've got your host, Mr. Michael Mataluni, host of the Singularity Lab. You can check out his links below. He's now got a Patreon. Won't be having a show this Thursday because he'll be out of town. Won't be on Unidentified Celebrity Review on Friday, which is a bummer because we've got John Greenwald coming. That's going to be a really, really fun day.
From the Black Vault.
We've got Jeremy McGowan, owner and operator of the Osiris, and new to the show, Mr. Aaron Disario. Aaron, can you explain to me who you are? What you do?
Sure. I'm a Googler. I work on photos for iOS. So if you have Google Photos on your iOS device, I work on large portions of that. Before that, I was at Apple for 15 years. We created iPhoto back in 2001. It was the very first digital organization tool for computers.
Cool.
Steve called it the digital shoebox.
I got to get with you because for some reason my iPhotos keeps repeating photos in my albums, and I don't know why. I've got like 120 of the same picture. I'm like, why does this keep doing this? I'm so confused.
Apple Photos are Google Photos. I can help you with Google, but the Apple stuff I haven't touched in 5 years.
All right, well then there you go. So I don't have Google Photos, so you're useless. So get off the show. No, I'm kidding. We got tomorrow. We've got Unidentified Celebrity Review. We're doing our Skinwalker Ranch review with Christina Gomez and UFO Jane, and also Christina Gomez has got her show, Shifting the Paradigms, 5 o'clock on Friday. So make sure you guys check out the links below, subscribe, ring the bell, like. This is, I think, every time, Mikey, we do a show for you, the crowd's bigger than the last one. We've got what are you laughing at, McGowan?
The comment that was just up there. Thanks for making the videos on my phone that I never asked for.
You're welcome.
It pops up all the time. I love it.
You mean the Google videos?
The Google videos.
Okay. I thought you meant like this video popping up on his phone at this moment. I'm like, okay, you're welcome.
Are you responsible for that, Aaron?
It's gonna get worse, guys. I'm sorry to say that.
Oh, it's gonna get worse.
No.
No,
Aaron,
it's only gonna get worse. Yeah. Aaron,
I got a question for you. With the disclosure movement that's happening now and big tech that is being involved in this and the news media that's coming out, have you seen any incentives or any initiatives from companies like Google to use the technology that you guys have, like Google Lens, where you have a photo in Google Photo and you click the little button and it analyzes the photo and it tells you what it is you're looking at? How come Google hasn't come up with an app that you take a picture of something in the sky and it uses all the data that's on your phone with your GPS coordinates, the azimuth, the altitude that you're looking at, and it goes, you know, that's flight 695 out of Albuquerque. How come that doesn't exist yet?
I'm not sure about that. So that particular use case, I think it's just a matter of somebody has to write it. And,
well, there you go.
Hook up to the FAA databases,
idea.
maybe, and hook all that data together.
Well, could that be dangerous in like the hands of someone who was trying to do something bad?
Well, I'm just thinking if everybody is taking a picture, you know, on next Thursday at 4 p.m. and, you know, there's a whole bunch of people in Zimbabwe that are seeing something and it's all getting uploaded to Google Photos because they've backed up their iPhone to Google Photos. There should be something that Google would be able to say, hey, this image is trending. This image is something that everybody's taking a picture of. Now let's take a little bit more.
Yeah, that's privacy reasons. We cannot decode people's photos like that.
Unless you opted into a program.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to opt into.
Just
hey,
put it
submit my
into
photos
one of
for
those
scanning for
15-page, the user
Terms and
agreements.
conditions.
Everybody will agree to it because they'll be like, "Well, shit, I need the new version of Google Photos." Nobody cares.
I don't know why he says I have no understanding of InfoSec. I literally write policy on InfoSec. This is for outside the box thinking in the civilian environment. I'm not talking about using this on a military base.
I feel like I feel like we need to have a throwdown between NP and McGowan because he's all over you today, bro.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I touched a nerve.
He is a
somewhere.
cybersecurity expert, so yeah, well, that could be interesting.
That would be interesting. NP, would you be up for coming on the show?
There you
Of
go.
course he would. Of course he would. You kidding me?
No, let's wait. Let's follow. Policy is garbage, dude.
Wait, hey, you want to?
It pays bills.
He's mad.
You want to know the app idea that I've got is an app that lets you know when your parking meter is about to get a ticket.
It's called a stopwatch.
Yeah. No. Well, I was thinking more of those moments when, say, because in LA it's just a nightmare to park. So, especially if you're going in for something quick, if you could pull into a spot without having to go through the trouble of paying for it, because that in this area, you're in a time frame where tickets aren't given as much, so you might have 10 or 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
You want to waive for parking, right?
Correct.
Basically,
yes.
Anytime there's a meter person going down the street,
yes.
somebody tags that person
correct.
and lets you know that they're coming.
It's like also, on Waze where the drivers say where the cops are.
Yeah, that's what he just said. But also, it would be cool, say, because sometimes in LA they give you 2-hour limits. And if you're at a dinner and you're having a good time and whatever, it might expire and you forget to refill it, but maybe the phone sends you a reminder, hey, there's a parking meter guy pretty close to a block away. You may want to go out and pump some dollars in there,
I'm not really sure there's a lot of financial incentive.
There's a ton of financial incentive. I think you're wrong, Aaron. Let's get this
all
rolling.
Wrong many times, and this could be one of them.
Yeah. Anyway, I just don't like parking cops.
Well,
I used to have to park my car on the street in Portland when I had an apartment, and then unless I was there at a certain time in the morning, my car got ticketed.
Yeah, no, we just got a ticket the other day. Not fun.
So I've tried to come up with ideas. We have this hack week every year where we can spend a week writing any code that we want for Google Photos.
Cool.
And one of the ideas, I'd like to come up with a good idea for myself that could be put to some use. I've tried to think of, well, maybe we could have an identifier like the lens thing that picks out UFOs. And then I realized, no, first of all, the training data isn't there. You need 1 million photos of UFOs to do that. And then once you had that, it would probably produce so many false positives it would be completely useless.
My phone picks up extra light every time I try to take a picture of something in the dark, and it makes it look like a UFO.
We're going through the same thing at SkyHub right now with the training on the data sets for the machine learning algorithms. There's just not enough information out there right now. I mean, we've got plenty of, like I said, Flight 695 out of Albuquerque, but we don't have a lot of things that are doing things that can't be attributed to conventional aircraft on the SkyHubs for the data sets.
Could you share real quick, Jeremy? Could you talk a little bit about O.S.I.R.I.S and what you've built and what you're attempting to do? Yeah,
so the O.S.I.R.I.S is an interesting little project that's kind of consuming my life. I took a 1999 Land Rover and incorporated initially and originally a SkyHub unit into the vehicle, which is recording all the ADS-B information, time, distance, GPS locations. It has a HD fisheye lens that is recording anything that's in the air over top of the vehicle, bouncing it off of known flight tracks and things like that, and then logging things that become anomalous or unidentified, and using a combination of AI and machine learning to try to filter through those to highlight what is truly anomalous in the air over the vehicle. It was originally designed as a static device, but I incorporated it into the vehicle. Then from there, I took a host of other types of disparate sensor technology, Geiger counters, tri-field meters, magnetometers. I'm getting probably about, I think it's about $6,000 to $8,000 worth of new sensor tech integrated into it in about a month for another project that is starting to kick up. So there's a lot of things. Lou himself called this the first civilian UAP tracking device or mobile tracking device. So it's an interesting hobby to have.
Yeah, and so basically the idea is you're looking to gather as much data as you possibly can, and that's kind of what we've been talking about this entire time, is we don't have the data, right? Yeah. We're still trying to understand what we're looking at in the skies, and when it comes to UAPs and UFOs, we obviously have to distinguish those from drones, and then we have to distinguish those from satellites. Now we have Starlink, and they're just the extraordinary amount of satellites going up in the sky. It's going to make it harder and harder and harder to do so, and it's going to take really good sensor technology to begin to piece together this data, right?
And it's getting crowded too. That was what I showed Mike yesterday. My friend's husband, he's a helicopter chief with the wildlife service for forest fire fighting and everything. And they put out a public service announcement the other day about keeping your drones out of the sky at certain times because they can't do their job.
Yeah.
Chris Spaghetti is asking a question about giant cameras they use on drones made from a bunch of iPhone cameras. I don't know about the one made a bunch of iPhone cameras, but there is a very specific optical sensor technology that we incorporate on the MQ-1s and the RQ-1s, MQ-9s, RQ-9s, the Predators and the Reaper drones. Folks believe that we don't fly these in domestic airspace, which is absolute crap. We fly these over the United States all the time, especially Customs and Border Patrol. It's called Gorgon Stare. And Gorgon Stare is an optical sensor technology that is constantly recording. And basically what happens is, let's say a crime is committed in 6 hours from now. Well, what they can do is they can work backwards. They can go backwards in time through the videos that are being constantly taken. Mm-hmm. They can monitor an entire area the size of New York City. Wow. And then they can track a vehicle backwards in time to see what its origin point was, because everything in that city is being monitored through that optical sensor tech called Gorgon Stare.
And they have the same thing for air superiority in terms of X-band radar. Civilians are prohibited from X-band radar because it's used primarily by police, but also secondarily because it's used by the United States to, as one lieutenant general put it, locate something the size of a baseball in San Francisco from Virginia. Wow. So if you think that we don't know what's flying over our airspace, you're nuts, right? We know everything.
Well, so let's talk that through then. So if the government has the ability to see what's going on in ways that we can't even believe, then how could they not know exactly what these UAPs or UFOs are?
There's two primary reasons. One, just like Aaron said, they do. And the second is you have to ask the question to get the answer. And if one agency that is controlling, say, for example, Gorgon Stare, let's say that that's being done by the Customs and Border Patrol over Tucson, Arizona. Whoa. If the FBI doesn't request the flight log or the visual representations from Gorgon Stare over the past 72 hours when a drone is chased by a CBP helicopter, they're not going to get that information.
Okay, so basically what we're all saying here is the government knows, and the reason that they're not denying the fact that, all these releases from Corbell, even though they don't show the 5 observables, they do know that there's something going on here that is beyond US or any other sort of tech, and they're slowly trying to figure out how to disclose this information to the American people. Am I caught up here?
Yeah, I tend to think the Corbell videos are the real thing, that were probably leaked to him by DOD intentionally. Unless there's a psyop, right? There's still one possibility that this is a psyop, that they were leaked, that they're actual drones and they're leaking it to Corbell to try to discredit him. That could still happen, I think.
Right. So this idea of a psyop, and I don't want to go too down this rabbit hole because Luis will freak out. Anytime I say the word psyop, Luis just.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
That's not true. I'm freaked out.
You did it. That was awesome.
Was that an imitation of the car dealership guy?
So that's Gorgon Stare right there. That's
What is it? What are we looking at?
That is Gorgon Stare. That is the MQ1s and the MQ9s basically flying over. Go back 2 photos. Basically flying over a city and recording every movement of every vehicle and every person.
Wow.
And constantly just banking this data.
And if you think one is badass, you should have 5 or 7 or 10 of them arranged in a hexagonal pattern, where they can cross-correlate their data and they can actually focus their data collection much more intensely by using interference and many other things.
And this is just a camera.
Yeah.
This is not magic tech.
Right.
This is a camera with basically cloud hosting.
So
Got
what do you say?
quiet.
What do you say to the people who say that this is all man-made tech? This is a giant psyop to scare people. Ronald Reagan back in the 80s said, "Hey, you guys, we're only going to be able to come together as a world if we're attacked by aliens, and this is our chance to create a one-world government." What do you say to those conspiracy theorists who believe this is all just a psyop to create a one-world government?
We weren't building Foo Fighters in World War II.
Not everything is a UAP, and not everything isn't.
Not everything is a psyop, and not everything is.
I do got to say, I'm sick and tired of
very
these
agnostic
videos of
term.
hovering dots. No more
Hovering
videos
dots.
of hovering dots, please. I would like to see some sort of, other observable.
I want to
pick a different
see.
observable.
I want to see something make a right angle turn.
Yeah.
That's what I want
Right.
to see, or I want to see like Jeremy said, a hypersonic
Instantaneous
hypersonic velocity. That would be also cool.
And I don't take away anything from the pilots and our Navy personnel and our military witnesses who are going out there every day and saying that they see these things, because I saw something too. But I'm not going to use my story to
It's
try to
not good
convince
enough.
you. It's not
It's
good
not
enough.
good enough. Yeah,
I
agree.
to see it.
And that's the same thing with my personal story and it's not something that I always put on the table. If people ask, sure, I'll tell it to you. But I can't put that in front of a congressman. I can't put that in front of a congresswoman.
Right.
But I could put Jeremy McGowan's story in front of a congresswoman.
But you shouldn't.
No, I
shouldn't,
shouldn't.
unless
No,
there's
I
data.
know I shouldn't. There's a lot other
We should
better.
leave out the peeing on the box part.
Yeah. There's a lot better examples to use. But then again, like if you had to choose between one or the other, my story or your story, I'd put yours in front of a congressperson first before mine.
Because he was a military. He was in the military. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because he's a trained observer on some
Right.
level, and I was just a kid. I was just an idiot kid, even if I was an adult. That's what I mean. Like, your story does mean a little bit more, but the bottom line is they should all be valid. They should all be collected. They should all be studied, and patterns should be pulled from those stories. But I think the ones that really, really matter, the cream of the crop, are the Fravers, the Dietrichs, the ones who came from those experiences, had a debrief, wrote down every single thing that happened with every single movement of their jet. They've got radar, they've got cockpit recordings, they've got a wealth of data just on one case. And remember when Richard Hoffman
knows what they are, right? So that's theater, is what that is.
Yeah, it's theater, but it's a theater that needs to be seen by everyone. Everyone needs to be caught up. Not everyone has the knowledge of the same, the people in this chat. That's the thing, is we need the New Yorker, we need Ezra Klein, we need Sam Harris to start having these conversations to get people acclimated to the idea that this is actually happening. They're real. They're really, really real. Now, once that message is hammered into their skulls, then they can start having conversations like we had today. And they could always come back to that base reality of they're real. They are absolutely real. Now, what do we do to figure out the questions to the answers that are obviously just spropping up everywhere now? It's
right. And Luis Elizondo makes a good point about this when he talks about giving this to people in digestible chunks, because if you give it to them too fast, they'll choke on it, right? It's just too much, too fast. They can't handle it. But I'm really curious about the people who just don't care.
I think that's
because there's
the
a lot of
people.
them, right?
What do you mean? Like people that don't care at all?
They're just like, if you told them there are actual ETs visiting us, but they don't really mess with us, and they're just kind of here and just sharing the planet, and they'll never bother you. Like, I think there are plenty of people who would just be like, huh, and just move on with their lives.
Give it to them like that.
Like 60% of the American people believe that aliens exist, somewhere in the universe, right? So we're already halfway there.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. That's the narrative that you keep hearing coming out, right? That's what all these folks keep saying, like Obama, and they say, oh, there's things going on in the skies, we don't know exactly what they are, and for the idea that there's not intelligent life in the universe. Obviously there is, right? And you just hear that over and over and over again. It's like, it's almost to the point ad nauseum, because it's like, well, that's not an answer. Like, of course there's life out there, or potentially life out there. The universe is vast. What was in the Milky Way alone, for every single sun, for every grain of sand on Earth, there's 10 stars, right? That's an unfathomable amount of opportunity for life. Obviously there's life out there,
and
but
that's
not
only
what we're
life that we
about.
know about, or the kind
Right.
of life that we are familiar with, which is based on DNA and carbon and that sort of thing. There could be, John Keel's gone on about the electromagnetic life, and there's people who talk about plasma life, and now we're talking about extra dimensional life.
And this is all why I don't think any of it's a threat.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. I agree. I think we'd be dead by now if it was a real threat.
I think it's been here for longer than we have. And it's not blown us up or
Jeremy,
evaporated.
you wanted to mention from our conversation about drones, you wanted to mention how easy it is for people to attain unbelievable drone tech.
Oh God, yes.
Did you want me to share this? Why don't you talk about that, and I'll share what you said.
Yeah, in a second. Bring it up in a second. But there was a video that Chris Mellon had done when he was talking about the fact that these drone swarms were 100 miles off the coast, the ones that came around the USS Kidd, and that drones only have, like 15, 20 minutes of flight time, and there's nothing out there that, can do this. And he was invoking the idea of people with these things, right? I mean, this, 8 minutes and it falls out of the sky, right? But what people don't understand is this technology that can do what was shown to us and described to us in that video is all over the place. The Chinese sell their military tech to anybody with a checkbook, as long as it's not us. They won't sell it to the United States, but they would sell it to just about any. And bring up this link, because this is basically.
Did you share it in the private kind? I saw you shared it. I don't think that was the right one. I'll find it. You keep
okay.
going. I'll find it in your doc.
So if you've ever seen the movie War Dogs with Jonah Hill and the other guy, they went to a weapons bazaar, right? And this is basically an expo like we have here in Las Vegas, where you're selling, cement mixers or lumber or whatever. But here at this weapons expo, you're selling air-to-air missiles and tanks. These things are real. These expos are real. IDEX is a real thing, right? But the Chinese government has turned it into an online thing like Alibaba. You can actually go on and you can buy, if you have the money, there you go. The Chinese Military Drone Alliance will sell you their military drone technology to anybody who can write them a check.
Holy shit.
And I'm talking.
Now, they won't sell weapon systems, right?
Yes. Go back up. Let me see go to crap. Where is it? Go to fixed wing drones.
I would just love to click products and it just says
Scroll down.
Killer Viper drone. It comes with 10 missiles on the first order.
Hit the detail on that second one right there. No, second one from the top.
Oh, hold on.
The one that says loitering munition.
Did it come through?
Just hit detail.
Oh, okay. So the problem is when I click on the screen, it doesn't go to the next screen. Okay. So
anyway,
let me stop sharing. Let me share. I'll share it.
All right. So the loitering munition, what this is basically a flying bomb. And the Chinese government will sell it to you. It's a flying bomb that uses artificial intelligence and facial recognition. You program the picture of your enemy into this thing. When this thing detects the enemy walking around underneath of it, it will lock onto them and blow them up.
And they'll just sell this to anyone.
Yes.
How much
Called
is
a
it?
suicide drone.
How do you know how much it is?
You've got a list, don't you?
Indeed.
But this
what do you
is
have
direct.
So you have to what? It's like you have to read. Oh, you have to inquire.
Yes. So as you
hit them up
are
on Twitter. See what's up on Twitter. Maybe
if
they
you're
got
a
price on
Saudi
there.
prince
I know you
with
can
a
share it on
big
Twitter.
pocket of cash, you can buy any of these military drones from China that can do just about anything that you could possibly imagine.
Suicide
Let me ask you this,
drone.
McGowan. Do you think these drones are the best tech that China's developing?
I think that they're probably the best tech that was out 5 to 10 years ago.
Interesting. So I also wanted to ask you, because people were talking about the potential for these drones to be, 180 miles out to sea, to be flying for 8 hours at a time. Is this something that modern drone have the capability to do?
Oh yeah, we've got drones that last weeks in the air.
Weeks in the air?
Weeks.
Well,
And people look at me and they say, it's a fixed wing drone, it can't hover. That's crap. I can show you a Cessna 172, a $20,000 little single engine airplane. You point it into the headwind and it will stay stationary. I can show you pictures of birds flying around, seagulls trying to steal French fries that are hovering because they're pointed in the wind. If you know how to fly, you can do things that what people don't understand a conventional aircraft can do, because you have a knowledge of how flight aerodynamics work.
Right.
I imagine those though would have a very recognizable signature,
right?
Infrared.
Sure, they probably would, but we don't have those videos. I mean, right now there's a question up there that God, where did it go? Let me find it again.
While you do that, our Alex, our producer, wants to know if you have any. Do you have a coupon code that we can use for the China Military Drone Alliance website?
Coupon code is "Kill Thy Enemy."
Yeah. So now that I've become death, said all I see are plane-looking drones. Look at these. Look at those. I don't see what's on the videos. I don't either, because what's on the videos is a fuzzy dot.
Right.
So you have no idea what's on the video. It could be any of those drones in that marketplace. It could be a UAP. It could be off-world technology, or it could be a gasoline-powered or diesel-powered, heavy fuel-powered helicopter straight from China, sensor tech on it that's capable of flying around for 48 hours.
So why is Mr. Corbell releasing these little videos that are not all that useful on their own?
He's a paranormal documentary filmmaker, and he makes a lot of money off of this.
That's not untrue.
Yeah, I mean,
NB says if anyone else had this tech, New York, NYC, DC, LA would be nuked with no recourse. What do you mean by that, MP? Like, can you elaborate on what you mean by that? Oh God, we are at the end of our show, boys and girls.
Yep.
Damn it! We have to keep. Yeah, we have to bring NP on with Jeremy, and then Aaron can be the referee.
I'll get my whistle.
Yeah. What an absolute pleasure having you all on the show today. I so appreciate it. Amazing show. Those of you in the chat, thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button. Share this. Get it out there. We want to get this channel monetized so that we can start to do this more and more and more, and hire people to come on aboard and help us make this show better and better and better for you guys. If you are excited about tomorrow's show at the Unidentified Celebrity Review, Luis, we got what are we talking tomorrow? We have an interview. All right.
well, we were going to have an interview with Erica Lukes, but she had to push back till next Wednesday. I've been meaning to reach out to Jazz because Jazz just wrote an interesting article on Japanese airline flight from 1986, the JAL flight, which is
the Anchorage
favorite
Alaska
case.
Flight,
next to the David Fravor case. So I'm wanting to see if I can get him on for the first hour instead of the second hour, because I know he can't stay for both, and I really want to talk about that. So hopefully we can get Jazz to come around for the first hour, and then we're going to be doing the Skinwalker show review, episode 5 review with UFO Jane and Christina Gomez. And then on Friday, we've got John Greenwald from the Black Vault, which is going to be a killer time. So get your questions ready, and yeah. So me and Rather are going to be handling that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Aaron, it was truly a pleasure having you. McGowan, as always, thank you so much for sharing what you know, what you've experienced with us today. I think it's such an important topic because we really need, as this topic gets closer and closer to disclosure, and it is a process, folks. I just want to reiterate that this is not going to be an overnight thing. We're going to be here covering this for you as long as it's going on, which I have a feeling will be quite a while. So thank you all for joining us today. We truly appreciate it. And any final words you guys want to say? Anything, Jeremy?
I just want to make sure that people understand that I'm not trying to debunk everything. I want people to cut through the noise so they can focus on what is really, truly unknown.
Right. That's fair. Aaron, final thoughts?
I would just echo what Jeremy is saying. I'm sick of these hovering dots. Show me some videos that are more interesting, have more context, and give me more data.
100%. Yep. Luis.
Yep. Like, subscribe, share. Check out the links below to help support the show. And also, just FYI, Michael, Stephen Greenstreet is confirmed for Thursday the 24th.
Oh, yes. And also, just to for those of you who don't know, I spoke with Avi Loeb today, and he's going to be joining us in a couple weeks to discuss the mainstream academia versus the scientific method, and how we start to get some of these fringe topics into academia so we can actually study them scientifically. So I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited about Greenstreet. It's going to be coming on. So we're setting up some big interviews for you guys. So if you are not subscribed to this channel, if you're not subscribed to the Unidentified Celebrity Review, make sure you do so now. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell so you are notified whenever we go live. Thank you so much, everybody. And we will see you soon.
Cool.